And- All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started on this thing. We are launching 100 Healthy Days. So basically what this program is, and it kind of goes along with this worksheet. If you don't already have this thing, you have yours right there printed out for you. You can go on our website and you can find it. It's on npchiropractic.com/100 Healthy Days, or on our website under the events page. And really the whole premise behind this is to take you through. Takes about 90 days to form a habit. We're taking you all the way through 100 to say, hey, let's hold you accountable. Let's put you through a program that basically sets you up for success, because the more you do this and the more you stick to it, kind of like we were talking about before, it sets you up for this leadership role to say, hey, I'm taking charge of my health. I'm putting it into my own hands, and it's putting it on a piece of paper and following these worksheets. On a day-to-day basis, we are going to be posting podcasts. Sometimes they're just a couple minutes, sometimes they're an hour long, sometimes it's just articles that are really quick. So it's a great way for you to look at. As you can even see on the slide, it's not just your health, but also your weight, your energy, your finances, your relationships. These are solutions for long-term change, not just the quick fix that then you turn around and it's the same crap all over and over again. So I want to make sure that these are true solutions, hold you accountable through the whole thing. We know that people are living to be 100. I'm sure you've all heard me say this before. If you've heard me speak or we chatted about this, it's whether we like it or not. So we want to make sure we're preparing for that. If we're going to be living to be 100, taking action steps today are one of the most important things we can do, because that's what's going to dictate how we feel and function when we get older. So if we say, well, I'll just wait until I'm falling apart, 100 years goes by and we say, well, now I have all these diseases, I have this pile of medications or surgeries, and that sets us up for failure. And we say, well, I'm just getting old. Doesn't have to be the case. Old does not mean falling apart. You can still keep doing the amazing fun stuff with your children and your families if we flip the switch and focus on lifestyle, motivation being quality of life versus how do I get out of this crisis or break through that negative mindset. So the story I always like to start with on this thing is really a story of my own. I used to live fairly unhealthy. I would consider myself now a pretty healthy individual, but in the past, going through college and prior to that, just growing up, not knowing what a healthy diet looked like or what a healthy, just lifestyle looked like, I was pretty much eating what I want, when I want, not really caring about it. And I had asthma, as well as very severe migraines. And I would get the migraines were 2 to 3 times a week, headaches most days. The migraines would be 10 out of 10, blinding, couldn't see out of half my field of vision. I would lose all that. And those migraines were extremely debilitating. With asthma, it was here and there, it would come and go. But when my asthma got to its worst, I hit a point where I actually collapsed. I was in my house in chiropractic school with my roommates. I was a little bit sick. I had kind of a cold, and there was my roommate had a dog in the house, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. I couldn't catch my breath, and I dropped to the floor. I started seeing black spots, and I essentially passed out. Started catching my breath again. Dr. Tori, who was just my girlfriend at the time, said, we need to go to urgent care and we need to get you taken care of. I was being stubborn, and eventually we went, and I got the injections of steroid shots, and I got the breathing treatment, which basically saved me from it all. And the doctor there said to me something that kind of freaked me out. He said, based on your blood oxygen levels, this is something that you got pretty close to dying. So you need a better indicator of when you should come in next time. So I went into a chiropractor that taught the nutrition courses at school. He basically said, we got to hit the reset button. He was the nutrition professor and did a lot of very extreme things in a good way in terms of all natural. Again, I'd consider him kind of an extremist, but no processed food, get out in the sun, get out in the dirt, do all that stuff that's really important. And I said, all right, let's go through the process. It was a process. It took a while, but I did not cheat through it. I think Dr. Tori and I had one cheat meal, which I had like a sip of wine and a piece of chicken was like my cheat meal on Valentine's Day. It was pretty intense. The first couple of weeks were the hardest. Then it started getting easier. Then I had a few mental breakdowns because I was like, my friends are going out and I can't have a beer with them because I'm trying to clean my body out and hit the reset button. By the end of it, through about 9 months it took, is how we were strict, and Dr. Tori did it with me. I could pretty much sleep in bed with a cat and not have to use my inhaler. Almost completely, if not completely, reversed my asthma to the point where, yeah, I still do have a rescue inhaler if I need it, but it is extremely rare that I even think about that thing or think about my asthma. And when that happened, my fatigue that I didn't even know was a problem completely went away. I was extremely exhausted every single day. We'd get home from class and I'd, pass out on the couch immediately, thinking that's just because I'm tired because we had school. In reality, it was more of my adrenal glands and my whole body just not functioning right. Migraines were better, but not gone. And then chiropractic care itself, I got adjusted in a different technique than I'm used to. And that I started sweating through my shirt and my migraines completely stopped happening. So it's been years, knock on wood. I don't even have wood next to me. That's some composite of some sort, I don't count. But I used to suffer so much more than I even realized I was suffering. And it took some really, really strong willpower to kind of power through the thing. But it's extremely powerful how good you actually can feel. And I would promise that, including myself right now, because I'm not as strict as I was then, you're not feeling as good as you can. And if you really were able to experience that and say, let me be as strict as I can and not have cheat meals and power through and go as far as I can without even thinking about cheating, it gets easier. And eventually you turn around and say, I feel like a superhuman. When in reality, that's just what humans feel like. But you feel like a superhuman. You have all this energy and your brain is functioning like you feel like you're smarter and you're sharper. It's just absolutely incredible. So your body can always heal itself if you give it the right tools. And that's where this program kind of helps you through that. And it is the sheer magnitude of your mindset and the choices you make every day and the food you eat and the air you breathe and how you take care of yourself. The magnitude of that is something most people don't get. Because it's not just, well, this one little cheat meal won't really matter. It does. Every step along the way matters. And the more you can push that in the right direction and not focus on the negative of it, what I can't enjoy, what I can't do, focus on what you can do and what makes you feel good and what you feel like on the end of it, and put it into a leadership role so people follow behind you on it. Because just waiting for others to do it with you, they'll never do it, because most of the people around me don't do it, and family and friends. And it's like, well, I guess they can just live in an unhappy, more sick life, and I'm gonna push through and be that person that people can look at, and it works. With this program, again, your health, your weight, your energy, your finances, all that stuff, these solutions are for you to put that into place. And if you go to 100 Healthy Days on our website, we'll have, I actually just added it today, so it's not on the screenshot of it, but it's got a link to the ebook. So if you lose it for whatever reason, you can follow along in that. It also has a link to our Facebook. These little buttons are actual links that go to the podcast, as well as the articles on our website and on the 100yearlifestyle.com. These are what's going to keep you accountable. Yes, you can go on here and look at all of them on day one. Please don't. You will do better if you let this take time, let this go through the 100 days. So every day you're taking those baby steps forward, not trying to go cold turkey on stuff and change it all at once. Progress, not perfection, is really the key on this. So check that out. If you just wait for our Facebook posts, they'll all pop up as well. We know, again, you're probably going to live into triple digits. Yes, people don't always live into triple digits, and that might not be you, but you have to be planning for that, because the worst thing you can do is wait until you're 80, 90, and you're getting close to 100 and say, geez, I thought I was going to die at 70. And now you have no money, you've got no food or, health. You're spending all your money on your health. When if you can start planning all of your finances, your relationships, your health around that and set it up for success, plan for that 100 and make that your lifestyle. And along the way, yes, there might be casualties. Sometimes you may have done so much damage to your body that it's like, well, there's some stuff still might happen, but don't look at that as a discouraging and say, I'm going to control everything I can and push forward to be as healthy as I can be so my body can heal itself. And you'll see in this article that trends, casualties, and control, you can read that yourselves. It's on the website and it'll be part of this. But where it says it, this underlined portion on the bottom, I don't know if you can see my arrow here, allopathic-induced Alzheimer's. The author of this is a great mentor of ours. His father suffered from allopathic-induced Alzheimer's. So do you know what allopathic-induced means? Allopathic-induced means medically induced. That means the medication he was taking created the Alzheimer's. So one of the biggest problems we see now is there's a lot of medications people get stuck taking and they say, well, my mom had that and my dad had that, so therefore I must have it. In this case, it was high blood pressure and cholesterol issues. So, well, whole family's got it, so I must have it. They were on medication for long enough, these statin drugs, and a common side effect of statin drugs, what are they supposed to do? Strip cholesterol from your body. Where do you have the most cholesterol in your body? Is in your brain. So if you start stripping cholesterol from your brain, the neurons do not fire the same way that they're supposed to. And now you actually start slowing those neural signals. And people say, well, it was just Alzheimer's or dementia. But very often it's actually created by the medication. That can go across the board with a lot of different medications, or the quick fix mentality of, well, instead of changing everything and changing how I'm eating, I can just take a drug and that'll make me feel better for now. But those quick fixes have long-term consequences. So it's really important to say, hey, I might live to be 100. I'm going to prep for this. I'm going to push forward. I'm going to be as healthy as I possibly can be, and not rely on those quick fixes that eventually can lead to long-term and permanent damage. It's very sad to see. And I've seen it in here over and over and over again. I've seen it with family. You don't want to get stuck in that position. So if you had 24 hours to live, what would you change today? What would you do right now? That's something that I want you to put in your head. Think about all of the things. Who am I going to see? Who am I going to talk to? Who am I going to call? If you had 24 hours to live. But then take that and just extend it out 30 days. Your approach to that is going to be a little bit different. You're going to say, oh, well, okay, still urgent, but I have to make some decisions. I have to talk to some people. I've got to get my ducks in order. Take that and extend it a century. Say, all right, maybe a year, or now 10 years. Extend it even further, and you're going to start thinking about it in that sense of, how much longer do I have to live? And yes, in our society especially, we have this instant gratification we like to get. Say, well, if I eat that food, it tastes really good and I want it right now. And then afterwards you feel guilty. Or you say, well, I really want to have that drink tonight, and then you have a cocktail, and then you say, well, maybe I shouldn't have had that. You want to find that balance between instant gratification and planning for the long haul. And to put that into perspective, to say, well, maybe how long am I going to live? How am I feeling and functioning now? And how much time do I have to maybe undo some stuff? And say, well, maybe I have a lot longer than I thought and I need to prep for it. We like to do what's called your empire and calculate that. So the article behind that you can find again in the, as we go through the 100 healthy days, but in your worksheets. And again, if you don't have this, you can just calculate on a piece of paper for now. But if you go on npchiropractic.com/100 healthy days, you can find that. And on page 5, so if you have your workbooks, I'm going to have you pull that out right now. On the top of that, it says, take charge of your life, take charge of your health. And right underneath that, it says, calculate your empire. So you guys listening on the webinar, I'm going to have you do the same. You are more than welcome to share in the chat, or if you want to pull up your camera or anything, you can always do that. And I kind of want to find out what your guys' numbers are here too. Take the oldest parent or grandparent that you have that is currently alive or is deceased. Either one is fine. Take their age and simply subtract your age. Calculator is welcome, especially if you're on your webcam and I can't see you, you can do that. Count the fingers and toes. And you're just going to get a number. So your oldest grandparent or parent minus your age. What you got? For your empire.
38.
38.
53.
53?
69.
69.
Oh,
So, and you guys on there, we got a 44. Very cool. So what I want you to do is think about that number. That is not your maximum. It's not like, hey, you've got this many years left and that's it. And then in your toast. It's how many years at a minimum you have the potential to live. Think of that number and say, hey, I might live another 40, 50, 60, 70 something years. So how am I feeling right now, and how am I functioning right now, and how am I going to prepare for that longevity? I mean, have you ever thought about living to be 100? No, most people haven't. And a lot of people have, and they're like, well, shoot, I don't want to live that long. That sounds horrible. Because we see a lot of our parents and grandparents and elderly people. I mean, it's a nursing home generation. We become human preservatives. But it doesn't have to be the case. Take your empire, keep that in mind, and say, hey, I may live that much longer. Maybe you don't like that number. 30% of our aging is our genetics. 70% are the lifestyle choices we make every single day, and the choices you make to take care of your body now are going to dictate that. So if you say, well, that number is too small, so change it. Be the first one to go beyond that. Maybe that number is too big, and you can say, well, I'm going to live really poorly so I can make sure I shorten that number. It really is how you express those genes is dictated by your choices you make every day. So when you're thinking about not just chiropractic care, and we use this in our office a lot, this continuum, not just chiropractic care per se, but everything in your life, what you're doing with your fitness and your nutrition, your mental health. Think of your motivation. You don't want that just to be the crisis, because very often we are motivated by something negative, or motivated by pain, or motivated by negative emotion, or we're suddenly in a financial crisis and we say, now I've got to take action. And our brains are just kind of wired that way. We get pushed to do that. But what I want you to do is flip a switch in your head and say, yeah, if I'm in a crisis, I've got to get through that. But we have to make the critical transition from need-based and crisis-based toward lifestyle-based decisions. Think quality of life over crisis. And if you could focus on lifestyle care with everything in your life and think of lifestyle and quality of life, that's how you're going to actually have a sustainable solution to push you all the way to 100, maybe even beyond that, but be getting there in style. So our current healthcare model, I mean, we see it all the time. People are waiting until they're falling apart, and then they try and pick up the pieces and make an emotional decision to say, oh my gosh, now suddenly I have this disease or illness. Yeah, at that point, you do have to take care of your crisis care. But have that team around that. Have a crisis-oriented team, but have a team around your lifestyle on top of that. And sometimes they overlap having those teams in place, but start focusing on your lifestyle so you can want it and prevent the crisis from happening altogether. Because when you stop, I'm just gonna move my little slide over here. In this article, it talks about what happens when you stop. This little circled part here, when it comes to exercise, for example, there's a research study published in Aging Neuroscience, and it revealed that endurance runners who skipped workouts for 10 days had a reduction in blood flow to their brain. Just 10 days later, after stopping what they were doing with their consistency in their cardiovascular exercise and their endurance, they started actually to see a reduction in blood flow. So if you have something where you're like, hey, I'm going to start working on my fitness, or I'm going to start working on my nutrition, just to do it for a little while, then stop for a little while, and do it for a little while and stop, you're just spinning your tires. You're constantly going to have this yo-yo effect, and you're not going to push forward enough to make it easy for yourself and see the real changes you need to. So check out that article too. It's got some awesome information. But again, instead of focusing on the things that you can't have, or I can't do this, or maybe I can't do that, focus on what you can do and learn to love the stuff that actually makes you feel good and makes you feel better, and focus on the positive impact it's having. Because if you can grab onto that, you're going to get a heck of a lot farther and really enjoy your life a hell of a lot better by doing that. So this x-ray I like to show, this patient did give me permission to share their x-rays. They actually want me to use it as an advertisement, they've said is a good idea, but I did block out their information just for the purposes of our slides. And this is a good example of what to avoid. It doesn't mean everybody who's had an injury to their spine or had something go on just winds up in this place if they don't take action, but it's countless how many times I see this in the office. We've got a lot of people that look just like this on x-ray. Now what we're looking at here is someone's pelvis from the front. And right in the middle is just a poor x-ray on my part by having the zipper still in there. If you go right above that, you can see in their low back, these are those hip bones that kind of stick out. All of this white stuff here, those are big bolts and screws. Those are rods through the spine. This little button right in the middle here is actually a bolt going through the front. So in order to get that one in, they have to actually remove the intestines, all of the viscera and organs, put the bolt into the spine, and then replace everything back in there. And this typewriter looking machine is a permanent TENS unit. It's a machine, a battery pack put in that is underneath the skin. It's inside their body. You can actually feel it upon palpation or feeling their back. And this thin white line is a wire with implants into the spine so that this person can have this thing running 24/7, essentially sending an electrical signal into the spine. Those signals are faster than pain signals to try and trick the brain to not feel it as much. Now, this all started with they had an issue with their back. It doesn't mean they got hit by a truck. They just had an issue with their spine, and they just had that go so far that it created some permanent damage. They got a spinal surgery, and it failed. They got a second spinal surgery, so they moved that fusion up, and that failed. They had another spinal surgery, and that failed. And they kept blowing out discs, and everything kept wearing out to the point where then they had to get the fourth spinal surgery with this electrical implant that also pretty much failed because they were still in excruciating, almost 10 out of 10 pain. They could not feel their feet when I met them, and they also couldn't feel their hands when I met them. This person drives about an hour and a half to see us because nobody would touch this. And they've been to chiropractors, they had been to other doctors, surgeons who all said, you're kind of out of luck here, buddy. This is, you're on your own. You're going to have to live with this. So because the way we adjust in our office is very gentle and we have a lot of techniques, we can customize that to the individual. We said, you know what? The worst case scenario, if we take a look at this, is nothing's going to change. It's going to stay the same. So we got to at least try. Took this x-ray, saw the damage in there and said, yeah, this is going to be a complicated case, but let's do what we can. Now they come in only about once a month and they're almost pain-free. So it is never too late to say, well, let me start taking action, because this person is about as far down that road as you can go and still got positive results. But we want to make sure that you're taking your health into your hands and saying, hey, let's avoid this altogether if we can. And if you're in this situation, you have to start taking action to take care of your health to prevent stuff like this from happening, because he's lucky. He's coming in once a month and he's mostly pain-free, but he's never going to get back to 100%. It's impossible. There's permanent damage, there's permanent arthritis and hardware stuck in his body now, and there will always be some level of pain because it went so far without having somebody looking at it from a different angle, not just saying, well, it hurts there, let's all screw it up there, let's just throw screws and bolts in there. I think this is barbaric what they did. I think this is a real shame, and I think they tore this person open, and they shouldn't have done that. It's disgusting in my opinion. I see this with other surgical cases that have been failed surgeries. I've seen this with people that have been given poor advice across the board. It is disgusting to me. I think it's barbaric, and to not trust that the body can heal itself and try less invasive stuff first is absolutely insane. So when I look at this, I get frustrated, and I hope you kind of do too. Say, you know what, this guy could have prevented all this stuff. I'm glad he's doing great now, but a lot of people never get to feel better, and it's just gone too far. And to wait until it's gone too far is pretty ugly, because I've seen it. And some people are barely human when they're like that. They can barely move, they can barely talk because they're in so much pain. So keep that kind of stuff in mind. It does happen. People do get stuck there, but in most cases, it is very, very preventable. Like in this scenario, I think this could have been prevented, but it is what it is, and we just move forward and try and help the best we can. So if we look at x-rays and kind of put that into perspective, the proof is in the pudding. These are three different individuals. We're looking at the, like my pudding analogy. We look at three different x-rays. It's someone's neck from the side, and their jaw is on the right there, so they're all looking out toward the right. And what we should see in somebody's neck is a smooth, continuous C curve. As a result, we're built like a spring up against gravity, and if we look in between each vertebra, the disc spacing is really smooth, continuous, and healthy, so the nerves that exit out the back now have plenty of room to breathe. Brain talks to all the organs that come through the nerves, traveling through the spine, and that's why, to me, this is the most important system you have. It is the most important thing you have in your whole body because it controls it all. So especially when we're looking at longevity here, if your spine and nervous system aren't happy, your body cannot be at 100%. So if we have damage to the system or misalignments or anything like that, the first thing that happens is we start to lose the curvature in our spine. So if you look at this individual in the middle, you can see the curve is straight and almost reverses a little bit. It does reverse slightly in this middle portion of it. And where the white arrow is pointing, you can actually see a nice healthy segment versus one where this red arrow is pointing, there's almost no space left. This is osteoarthritis, this is damage. You can imagine how little space there is for the nerve to exit out of there. The little points coming off the back, those are bone spurs starting to happen. If that does not get better, what starts to happen if we don't fix that, we get a reversal of the curve, gets even worse, because if you don't fix it, gravity never quits, keeps pushing down on all the structures in your spine, and now we start to get all these red arrows point to, this is a big bone spur, the big point. All this little white stuff here is additional bone growing, more bone spurs, almost no space. This is almost total fusion here. This is an immense amount of permanent damage. This is preventable permanent damage. This is what a lot of the people that come in and see us that have had all those bolts and screws put in look like. The difference between these three people is not their age. All three of these people are exactly the same age, so the exact same age bones, but they look drastically different. They're all exactly 50 at the time of the x-ray. And the difference was not that, well, this person just fell apart because they're old. The difference is that the person all the way on the end here was under lifestyle care. They focused on their 100-year lifestyle since they were a kid. They saw a chiropractor like you're seeing a dentist. You go periodically for checkups based on function, based on quality of life, not based on crisis. The person in the middle here, crisis care only. And this person said, hey, I'm going to go to a chiropractor because my neck hurts. I'm going to throw some over-the-counter medication down and I'm going to feel better. And then I'm going to wait until I'm in pain again to go back to get adjusted. Yes, it's better than nothing, but that is not a sustainable way to do it because pain is one of the last things to show up when there's dysfunction. Still permanent damage occurred. And the person who did nothing at all. This is the stoic person typically saying, I'll just deal with it, I'm fine. 50 years later, permanent damage, borderline surgical case. Yes, that person can still be helped. Yes, you can still make change. It's never too late to make that change, but they might not get back to 100% because they've let this go pretty far. So the moral of the story is, are you taking care of your entire lifestyle to, from a chiropractic standpoint and a spinal standpoint, keep yourself in a really healthy and structurally sound or stable position, but for all of your organs too. If you're getting liver cirrhosis because you're drinking all the time, it would be the exact same picture here. And you say, well, I'll stop drinking when I start feeling bad, and then I'll start drinking again when I feel fine. Yeah, it's still going to wear out the liver. But if you focus on, hey, I'm just going to make those lifestyle choices, balance that immediate gratification with the long haul thinking, that's where you can actually live to 100 and get there in style again. So I'm going to touch on this at the end. I just wanted to kind of throw it in there. This is not just about coming in to see us. If you already have a chiropractor, that's awesome. If you don't want to come see us in office because you think I just sound like a nut job here, that's fine. I just like to throw this out there for anybody listening. If you don't have a chiropractor, if you're unhappy with your chiropractor because they're maybe not doing the things that are best for your body, this is just a way to try it out. Basically, exam, x-rays, first adjustment, and all of our recommendations built in. It's a 2-day process. The adjustment happens on day 2. Normally $200, we're doing that for just $50. If you're listening to this thing, if you're in office, if you know someone who's joining in with the 100 Healthy Days, I love to extend that because I would love to give those recommendations. Because one, yeah, if you've got headaches, migraines, neck pain, back pain, vertigo, whatever it is, or maybe you're feeling amazing and you want to start in lifestyle care, this is just a way to see if our office is the right fit for you. Touch on it again at the end. I don't want to get too hung up on this thing, but let us know if you want to take advantage of this. I am going to type in the chat for you guys if you want to go to a link and fill it out, and we can reach out to get you scheduled. But that's just something to consider in terms of chiropractic care for the health of your spine and nervous system. Now, overall, spine and nervous system, your whole body function, your nutrition, fitness, all of that. If you are in a situation where you're not feeling good, the first step in this whole thing is you have to heal. Focusing on the right lifestyle choices doesn't mean you just instantly feel better all the time. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you start immediately feeling it and feeling the positive effects. Sometimes it takes a little while to get there, because if you can empower your body to heal, it'll actually start to function the way it's supposed to. And your innate intelligence, that innate inborn subconscious intelligence inside of you, will organize around your thoughts, the choices you make, and the lifestyle you live. So make the choices with your long-term health and well-being in mind, because the next phase in that is to regenerate. So once everything's functioning right, there still might be a lot of work for your body to do. It's going to start to regenerate, start to rebuild you to the place of, hey, now I'm functioning the way I'm supposed to. And once you get to that point, that's when you can start to thrive. That's where lifestyle care really sits. That's where your lifestyle motivated by quality of life starts, is now I'm just thriving. And that's what I want you guys to all be living in, is to not be in a place where you have all this healing to do. And if you are, it's okay. But just know that it's a process. Your body's going to heal itself, but you've got to stay persistent through the process so that you can thrive. That innate intelligence is the most important thing we've got. And just like you get a cut on your finger and you don't have to sit there and think, all right, I got to heal this thing. Your body will automatically send all of the enzymes and proteins and clotting factors and skin to actually repair that to the point where it's a small enough cut, you don't even see it anymore. You don't have to think about that process for it to happen. And that's where your body can heal itself. And we see it all the time. And if you remove any interference to that process and focus on thriving, that's where you can prevent disease altogether, because your body will always heal itself, absolutely, if you give it the right tools. So do you know that you have to make some changes? If you do, sometimes you say, oh, just maybe I'm going to get one thing out of this. Maybe I got a whole bunch of stuff to get out of this. If you know you have choices to make, how long have you known? Things that you have to change in your lifestyle. Is not changing those things causing some level of suffering? Because there's only one thing worse than suffering. That's suffering for 100 years. There's people that wind up in the hospital beds, wheelchairs, and nursing homes who maybe didn't have to be there. And now they're saying, man, I wish I made better choices. I wish I didn't do this. Now I'm suffering. Now I can barely get out of bed. Sometimes you lose your independence altogether. And that would really stink to get there that far, because I've heard plenty of people say, well, I just want to enjoy myself and then one day I'll just die. It's not always the case. More times than not, you're suffering through that process because you made poor choices along the way. And it's terrible, but the more you can change now, the better off you can be. So really think about, how long have you known about these things and what should I start doing now? So with that, as we move through 100 healthy days, I want you to think about these 3 principles we're going to review. On that same page with your empire, they are listed right there. There is an article that will go into these things. But the first principle that I want to talk about is the magnet principle. And the magnet principle, if you've ever heard what you think about, you bring about, is exactly that. Change is easy. Thinking about change is the hard part. And what you really want to do is take this magnet flip and really switch it around to say, I can make those changes, and I'm going to make that part of my life. And I'm going to read from this article that talks about it that you guys have access to through this whole thing, because this is so eloquently said, and I don't want to just mess that up for you here. But if you've ever played with magnets, you can understand the power behind life-changing principle number 1. When you hold 2 magnets near each other that with the poles pointed towards each other, they repel one another. No matter how hard you try to make the ends meet, they will just repel each other and bounce back in opposite directions. But if you flip the orientation so the opposite charges are facing each other, they will effortlessly attract each other and stick together. So instead of requiring energy to hold them together, it takes enormous energy to pry them apart. And that's the whole premise of this principle, is if you can make it and make that magnet flip, that the choices you're making are part of your lifestyle, and stick persistent enough to make this thing just what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, it's hard to break those habits versus to create them. And you just have to make that flip and make that your mindset and put it in your mind's eye and really focus on that. Watch yourself like you're watching a movie. And that's exactly what this principle talks about. When you commit to the change, truly commit, all of the issues related to being indecisive, undecided, they vanish. Unhealthy foods stop talking to you. Unhealthy spending stops talking to you. Over-the-counter drugs, prescription drugs, other addictions that have been running your life start to lose their power over your mind and body. This happens the moment that you truly commit to change. I think that's really, really powerful. So if you commit to this and you say, this is what I'm going to do, I don't care what anybody says, this is my choice, that's when you'll actually make those choices, and you take it one step at a time. The persistence principle. I am going to read this poetry to you because I think it is very well said. Change comes one choice at a time, so progress, not perfection. So if you decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to go cold turkey on all the food that I love that I know is bad for me. I'm just going to change it all at once. Very often, maybe that's the way that your brain works, and that's great, but very often that sets you up for failure. But if you can take one step at a time, choose the things you know you can change now, take those steps one step at a time, but don't quit. If you're persistent, that's going to create the change that, again, becomes easy. So where does quit fit? When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. When the tough gets going, things begin to change. When things begin to change, the tough keeps going. When the tough keeps going, they begin to build momentum. When the tough build momentum, things become great. When things become great, the tough grow humble. When the tough grow humble, they begin to give back. When the tough give back, they often wonder, what took them so long to get going, change, keep going, build momentum, become great, grow humble, and give back? So where does quit fit in the story? I think it's pretty powerful. The third principle through all this is the compelling principle. If you're going to make a change, make it your long-term vision. Keep that in mind through every step of the way. Know what you want to look like, what you want to function like, what your finances are going to be. Know what your dream house is going to be, what your career is going to be. Stick that in your head and use that as your vision for what you're going to change into, because change has to have that plan in mind. So use somebody like this woman, Ida Keeling here, 101 years old, winning a gold medal in a 100-meter dash in the World Masters Games. People are doing it. Keep people like that in mind. Keep, mentors in mind, or people that you want to be like, and have that vision of what you want to be like. And make that something that's going to compel you to keep going forward, to say, wait, what was it? What am I in this for again? Oh, that's right. That's the goal. That's what I'm looking to be like, because they're doing it and I can do it too. So in your worksheets, your 100 is coming. This is something you don't have to share with me if you don't want to, but I would like you to fill this out right now. You can fill this out again if you don't have your workbook. It looks just like that in here. I want you to list the immediate goals and changes that you know deep down in your heart that you want to make. And I want you to list, if you can list 5, great. If all you can think of is 1, but it's a really big one, throw that in there. But list the goals and changes that you know deep down inside in your heart that you want to make, and write them on a piece of paper. Because if you cannot articulate your goal, then it's not going to happen. Your goal needs to be well articulated and something you can say and write. And I already see people writing is awesome. That means stuff's already flying into your head. And I want you to really put that on paper, because this is going to be something you can look back on in 100 days and say, heck yeah, I did it. As you all are writing, just to look at it, the next one, I want you to also write down your long-term and lasting goals and changes that you want to make. So start with your short-term, and then go into the lasting long-term goals that you're going to have. While you guys write, I'm going to grab a pen because I'm going to participate with you. All right, so to keep us moving, I want to make sure everyone gets all your goals down. So feel free to keep writing and ignore what I'm talking about if you're deep in thought. Does anybody want to share? If you guys on the chat, again, you can type it in there. I'll share one of mine for each. You don't have to if you've got stuff that's more personal. Absolutely, you don't have to share anything you don't want to. Are there any immediate goals or changes that that you guys want to make? I will share mine. This one's more simple. My mobility, I think, needs to improve. So one of the goals that I need to do for my body is increase that. So I'm going to try and stretch every single day. Or not try, I'm going to stretch every day. Take the try out of it. And for long-term goals, I want more time spaced out between any cheat meals that I have. So eating really strict and healthy, making sure the less those happen or less frequent, the less damaging they're going to be, the more your body can heal and be better. I know that's something that I need to work on in the long term, because it gets a little cyclical sometimes. You say, oh, I'm doing great, and then you have a cheat meal, and then it kind of spirals out of control. So keeping the diet as strict as possible for even longer. Cool? So when you're looking at all this stuff, and this is about 2 or 3 pages past this, in the book, it looks like this. It says fitness on there, and there's a sheet right after that that I would like you guys to flip to, is page 12, page 11 and 12. What we've done for you, we got one on there. Awesome, keeping blood pressure and weight at some healthy goals here. Fantastic goals that you guys have. Thank you for sharing. Now it's on there, so that means it's official. You got to keep it that way, because now I know you said it. So when we go into how you can focus on some of this stuff, what we gave you is on page 11, you'll see a checklist. And on page 12 are things that you're going to write down through this next couple of weeks. This is a week 3 exercise. So if you want to do it now, you can, but I'd like you to revisit it if you do. But what we did for you is put, as a 100-year lifestyle affiliate office, we like to use ways to make it easier for you, better resources. So we put it into what's called your fitness. And it's really your N squared. There's 2 N's in this, ESS, that give you the tools to say, if I'm going to take care of my body, what are the 5 pillars of health, or what are a few pillars of health that I need to baby to make sure I'm moving in the right direction. So something that you should really keep in mind, and again, this is more of a week 3 thing, so as you go through this, you'll revisit this, but just to touch on it, your neurology, nutrition, endurance, strength, and structure are some of the most important, if not the most important things you've got. So if you look at your neurology and your structure, those are things that professionally speaking, we deal with in office, but you got to take care of at home as well. Your neurology comes first, because without it, if you cut a nerve, everything on the end of it dies. For your body to work, your brain's got to talk to those organs. So that's where the neurology comes in. The structure is also the other bookend of your fitness, or just your overall body's fitness. Basically, having a straight, strong, healthy spine is vital to quality of life, short-term and long-term. Being able to move around, being able to stand up straight, take deep breaths in, and keep those nerves healthy, and make sure arthritis doesn't set in, is keeping healthy posture, healthy mobility, and continuing through with that on a day-to-day basis. The middle 3 things, I cannot do for you, but we are here as accountability for you and can give you as much support as you want or don't want, whatever you need. Don't hesitate to reach out, whether you see us in office or you're just participating in this from afar. I'm happy to help. Your nutrition, that comes next, because you are what you eat, but you are also what you can process. So neurology is healthy. Well, if you're eating a really poor diet, then that's not really doing you that much good anyway. Everything you eat is what your body is going to break down for energy and turn into new flesh. So you know how if you rub your skin a bunch of dead skin is going to start falling off. If that happens all the time, which it does, and we never regenerated or never created new cells, eventually we'd run out of skin. Same happens with all of our organs. They are regenerating and repairing and creating new cells. And in order for our body to do that, we need to eat food. We drink water, we drink fluids. With all of those vitamins and minerals and nutrients, our body breaks it down and creates new flesh and new tissue out of that. So if we are eating something like donuts every single day, and that's all we eat is donuts, you're going to make your cells out of donuts. If you're eating McDonald's every single day, that's all you eat, you're going to make your cells out of that. It's probably more plastic than it is food. So eventually, your organs are going to start to fail because they're made out of faulty building blocks. They're made out of poor quality foods. So if you can really turn that on, to me, that is equally as important. As one of the most important things you've got is what you're eating every day. And again, like I've mentioned in the past, I love this word for it. It's the magnitude of what you're eating and consuming and drinking every day, and what you turn into new cells and flesh that make up your physical body. Your endurance and your strength, that comes with your cardiovascular exercise and your weightlifting or even body weight type exercises. Your endurance is the health of your heart, your vascular system, helps in terms of your lymph drainage and all of that. Very, very important. And your strength, because that's your independence. So a great analogy that a friend once brought up to me, you see the old person who can't get off the couch, or someone who's really weak and maybe they've had some injuries, whatever it is, they can't get up off the couch or they can't get up off the floor. You see them, if you observe somebody doing that, it looks like they're giving it everything they've got. So if you've ever lifted weights or put weight on a bar and you put it on your back and you go to do a back squat, or you go to pick up something real heavy that you kind of can't, it's like at your max. The feeling that you feel there, where your whole body's in tension and you're giving it everything you've got, every last piece of energy to pick yourself up, that's what it feels like for the person who can't get up off the couch. And it's not because they're old, it's because they've lost their strength. And if you lose your strength, you will lose your independence. And to me, that becomes very unfair for the people around those people. If you just say, well, it's my choice, so I'm just not going to do it, because then people have to pick you up and you have to move you around for you. And I can't imagine anybody who wants to wind up in that situation. So maintain that endurance, maintain that strength, maintain your nutrition to stay healthy, and keeping your neurology and your structure healthy are the most important things you can do. Now on page 11, there's a checklist, and just to review that, it gives you things to do every day to know that you're doing the right things for this stuff. On page 12, what you'll do when you get into week 3 is you're going to actually write down the following steps to improve the function of your nervous system, your nutrition, endurance, strength, and structure. But on your checklist, you'll notice it's not just those things. It also dives into toxins, mental and emotional health, and other habits that you can add if there's things that we're not listing that you need to work on. Using this daily checklist is huge, because you can just say, oh, shoot, I forget. What do I look at? So for example, getting your spine and nervous system checked. Doing that is chiropractic care, making sure you're taking care of that spine, nervous system. Chiropractic is the best thing you can do for that. Nutrition. I ate whole foods, healthy meals. I chose water over soda. I avoided white sugar, flour, and processed foods. I didn't use artificial sweeteners. I drank enough water. Your endurance. I walked, cycled. It's choosing something that you like so that you can stay consistent with it. I lifted weights or did yoga or Pilates. I slept on my back or side, not sleeping on your stomach. Sleeping on your stomach will keep your head rotated and create more strain in your back and in your neck and recreate misalignments that put pressure on the nerves. Toxins, not eating any processed foods, thinking about things like toxic-free cleaning products. A lot of people have not even thought of that. It's really, really important and powerful. Toxic-free personal care products like soap, shampoo, toothpaste, etc. And then with your mental and emotional health, there's an amazing book to check out if you're interested in this kind of stuff. See a good comment on there. When it comes to your emotional health, there's a book called The Divided Mind. And it kind of talks about psychosomatic, if you've ever heard that. If you've heard psychosomatic, it's where something's so in your head that it becomes real. That's not it's just in your head, you're making it up. No, it's a real physical problem that can be found and diagnosed and treated, but it could be coming from an emotional trauma or problem that's not being processed appropriately. So looking at your mental and emotional health is just as important as all of this to make sure that, hey, yeah, I got to make sure there's no interference from my brain to my body, but is your brain also doing everything it's supposed to? So to work on that, seek help if you need it, if there are those traumas, but also make sure, hey, did I meditate? Am I writing in a journal? Am I listening to a podcast or reading a book? Am I expressing self-gratitude? Am I expressing all the things to make sure I have that positive mindset and I'm moving in the right direction with it? So this checklist, great thing to check out. And the last page right before that, actually, I just thought it fit better in what I was talking about. Last thing, and then we'll kind of just wrap it up here for you guys tonight, which we will revisit all this on our next workshop, which I'll talk about in a moment. But if you look at your personal energy inventory, page 8, on page 8, and here you'll see this list. This is something that I really want you to exercise again and look at. Do that when it comes up, or do it tonight if you want to. But just go through, there's your energy drainers and your energy enhancers. And when you look through these, you might say, oh, shoot, just like I'm seeing comments on sleeping on your stomach and how that cranks your neck and creates some recurring stress. You might look at this and go, oh my gosh, this is the same kind of stuff. I'm seeing stuff that I didn't realize is happening as much as I want. For example, being a people pleaser. Maybe saying yes when you actually mean no. Having drama, stress, arguing with your spouse, not exercising, caffeine, sugar. Those things are stressors. They're energy drainers. You might say, well, doesn't sugar and caffeine give you energy? It's artificial energy from the outside. So what's actually happening is you're giving your body the excuse to say, I guess I don't have to do much. And it starts to wear some stuff out. But things like energy enhancers, speaking your truth, quality time with your family and friends, being honest, following through, reading good books, prayer, being grateful, etc., etc. Use this list to your advantage. Write in other stuff that you say, this isn't even on the list, but I know this is bad, or I know this is good, and I know I'm doing the right stuff. Follow through with that is an amazing thing to do. And to kind of see if you want to get that baseline, I didn't talk about this in the packet, but it is at the front of it. I do really like this. If I can find it. Page 4 here, your 100-year lifestyle assessment. If you fill this thing out also, and you're going to start with this, because if you go through the program, that's one of the first things you're actually going to do. So I would not just go start diving into this without doing this first, but answer the questions that are here. And when you get a score at the bottom, if you go to 100yearlifestyle.com and type in, it says right there what your score means, you'll get a whole article that talks about the different aspects of what those scores actually tally up to mean for you. Say, hey, am I living the best quality life that I can? Or are there changes that I got to make today? Make sure that you are finding the energy to change your life, because that youthful energy that you feel, that can be there all the way to 100 and beyond that. Because I know people that are there, that are still running marathons in their 70s and 80s. So again, this program will be 100 days. The first post is going to go out on our Facebook and Instagram on this coming Monday, but the 8th, June 8th. Maybe everyone's looking at their packet still. It's good. Okay. So the following Monday, this coming Monday is going to be the day 1 of this. So you can get started with your packets if you want and review it all and kind of glance through everything. But that first post will be on Monday to have podcasts, articles coming out to hold you accountable through this whole thing. What we're going to be doing for you guys, just as a giveaway as part of this, if you're not here today, it's okay. But if you've been here today or you were on the podcast, we're throwing you into the raffle entries here. I will post this on the Facebook page. So for those that weren't there, you can still get tickets entered. But basically, you'll get one of these amazing shirts. You can buy one of these on the 100yearlifestyle.com, or we're going to be giving one away. Going on our website, looking at the events page to kind of find stuff and everything like that. But being here and attending today, or even on the webinar, which I know who's on here, you get 5 tickets put into the entry or into the raffle. If you bring a guest in office or on the Zoom, which you can do at the next one, which again will be July 1st. I guess I didn't mention that yet, which I'll go over in a second. You get 10 tickets put in. If you share any of the posts, articles, any of that stuff, the videos, the podcasts, share it. Let us know you shared it. We'll usually see it on our Facebook. You will get 3 tickets there. And if you comment on one with something positive or amazing, how you're doing through the process, anything, put a comment on the post. You'll get a ticket for the post that you make as well. Those are unlimited. So if you say, I want to post on every single one for 100 days, you're going to get a lot of those. We're going to be raffling off these shirts. July 1st is the next in-office / Zoom talk. We will refresh on what we did, but there's also a review and reflect portion of this workbook that you'll hit. That's when we're going to say, how did everybody do? Are we doing well? What do you need? Is there more support you need? Do you have stuff to offer and share that you think is beneficial? Because I would like to open up some of these in the future too when we really get going. I want to hear from people. I want you talking. I want you participating. We offer stuff like this because, hey, I think it's a pretty cool shirt. We wear these a lot. But to really say, hey, 100% for 100 years, I'm sticking to this thing. I'm powering through. Let us know if you want to get one of these otherwise. But again, we'll be raffling that off July 1st. Workbook, if you don't have one, if you don't know where to find it and you've even looked and you're like, where the heck are they talking about? Email us, frontdesk@npchiropractic.com. Miss Abby will send you that in an email. But again, if you go to our website, Facebook page for this event or go under the events tab, you will find a link that has the PDF download. You can also go on npchiropractic.com/100healthy-days. This actually has the link on it now as well. Again, if you are interested in that new patient special, it's a way to try it out and have us here for you as your team for the health of your spine and nervous system. If you're not seeing a chiropractor, you're missing one of the most important components of your health. Just like people see dentists on a regular basis, chiropractic's just like that for your spine and nervous system. So let us know. Again, exam, x-rays, all of our recommendations and your first adjustment just for $50. It's a way to try it out, and we're happy to extend that to you and all of your family members, friends that want to jump in on this thing too. It's just a way to see if this works for you. 100% for 100 years, all the way to 100 days to a sensational century. Takes 90 days to form a habit. So stay persistent, reflect on those 3 principles and say, hey, let me participate and engage in this thing because that's where you're going to get the right results. If you have any questions at all, you can share them in the chat here if you're on this. We'll talk in a moment here when I kind of close this thing down on Zoom. If you guys that are on Zoom want to even hop in and chat with us, we're happy to talk. But if you have any questions, if it's something more personal, you can always email Dr. Pete, it's just DRPETE @npchiropractic.com. Say, hey, I've got a question. I need help with something. How can we move forward with that or get some advice? Happy to help. July 1st is the next talk, and I really appreciate y'all being here. Any questions? First, we'll go with online if I see anything pop up. Otherwise, then we'll sit here and chat a little bit. Thanks, Eric. 100, 100. Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I'll keep this open in case you want to. Awesome. I'll keep this open. I'm going to stop recording, but then if you guys pop in, thank you so much for being on here and taking the time out of your day.